Inflation is a problem that is more or less affecting each and every country in 2022, and the global leader USA is also not an exception in this case. What is alarming is the fact that inflation is showing no signs of reducing, thereby bringing about the disastrous possibility of economic breakdown. Since the growth of the country directly depends on its economic well-being, it's a very gloomy and intensified crisis that the country is heading to if economic strength disintegrates. Welcome to our YouTube channel, and in today's video, we will show you how the problem of inflation is continuously increasing in the USA, leading to a possible stock market crash and consequent financial stopgap. So let's get into the topic without wasting any moment. The Federal Reserve's interest rate policy is one of the most significant decisions that drives the American economy. It is generally observed by distinguished experts of finance that if the Fed were held more accountable, Fed officials would not have been so lax and unconcerned as they currently are about the potential risks of excessive interest hike. It's clearly visible that the Federal Reserve as well as the U.S. Finance Ministry haven't kept their vouchsafed determination of doing whatever it takes to downtone the unbridled inflation. The Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell can be held partially responsible for this futility, since he has consistently attempted to mask the bare reality of the U.S. economy by showcasing the pleasant-to-hear facade of careful control over inflation without harming the economy. As per the ground reality, it is by and large accepted that a highly growing inflation cannot be controlled with the economy being perfectly intact. It is necessary to cut down the excessive cash flow by increasing the bank interest rate and controlling the liquidity in the market, which in turn obviates the advent of a recession. Without facing an economic downturn, temporary however, it's impossible to cure the inflation in an effective and long-lasting manner. The challenge before the government is to take smart measures to tackle the transitory recession the country might face and maintain the basic financial structure in its best possible health until the diseased economy is regaining normalcy. But that is a quite difficult task, leading the government to the unending questions of the public. That is why the government, along with the Federal Reserve, has taken course to hiding the carcass beneath the cherry blossoms. They are continuously convincing the common men of the USA that inflation is within control and it won't get them into a really grave problem, and the government is working in a slow but steady manner to eradicate it. Now the problem being understood, the question is how much damage this problem has already done to the economy or is going to do in the near future. Some experts uphold the belief that inflation will otherwise become permanently higher or even spiral out of control. But many resourceful and reliable economists tell a different story of the estimates of future U.S. inflation. The International Monetary Fund projected 3% inflation for 2023. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development is projecting 3.5%, while the Federal Reserve itself projected 2.6% for 2023. This looks a fairly innocent rate of increase, which will hardly intimidate any economist. But another possibility is lurking under the superficial reality, the probability of an inflationary spiral, in which some self-reinforcing mechanism drives inflation continuously upward. The wage price spiral is the most well-known form of the inflation spiral. It is a deteriorating circumstance where rising prices cause workers to demand higher wages, which leads to higher prices, and thus the cycle goes on. But the real situation has not gotten that much worse. The wage growth has suffered a landslide from a 6% annualized rate at the end of last year to just over 4% in recent months. So there is no evidence of the USA heading in that direction of wage inflation, at least for now. But this essentially isn't a relief solid enough to rid the countrymen from the burden of skyrocketing commodity prices. Though the water of wage inflation and spiral inflation is presently flowing beneath the danger level, there is no stout dam to check the ensuing flood of economic breakdown. The average cost of living has geared up so rapidly of late that no matter if spiral inflation is there or not, the common American are finding it struggling enough to lead their day-to-day life. What shocks us even more is the cold and apparently detached attitude of the government. President Joe Biden reportedly got somewhat defensive when asked about inflation, which hit an annualized 8.6% in May and is now at a 40-year high after a slight decline in April. He seems to shake off the responsibility from his shoulders by pointing out that other countries are also experiencing inflation. Thus, it is more due to a global predicament rather than the government's misguided policies. While highlighting the lower rate of unemployment to be the landmark achievement of his government, Biden very consciously avoids the fact that the U.S. has one of the highest annual rates in the world. Pandemic and Russia-Ukraine conflict have been incessantly used as inevitable excuses for the rising price, though it could have been more comfortable for the public than it is now if the White House has acted with a little more judiciousness and pragmatism. The so-called great achievement of a low unemployment rate of 3.6% also looks less glamorous when compared with other countries. 2.3% for Japan, just under 3% for Germany, and over 4% in the UK. And when the question comes to the steps taken by the world's strongest economy to fight the current inflation and the forthcoming crash, this is what the president has to offer. We have reduced the deficit. We have increased employment and extended payment. For the first time since 1994, the Federal Reserve raised rates by 0.75 of a percentage point Wednesday. After the Fed's policy decision, stocks began to grow moderately and the rise accelerated after Jerome Powell said that he expected the Fed would raise rates another 0.75 of a point in July. It was followed by a temporary surge in financial and tech stocks. Amazon and Tesla both gained more than 5%. The Dow increased by 1%, the S&P 500 rose 1.5%, and the Nasdaq Composite got a boost of 2.5%. But this is not at all a stable stock condition since the out-of-control inflation is eating into the condition of demand-supply equilibrium. Day by day, the bare minimum expenditure for living is going up by leaps and bounds, putting more and more pressure on the purse of the public. Honesty and commitment to do whatever it takes are indispensable parts of controlling a severely critical issue like inflation, which first requires the acceptance of the severity and limitations to tackle that without any loss. Powell's declared goal to curb down this insane price hike by 2% per annum through implementing appropriate monetary policy stays far off this hard reality. The improbability of execution was evident from the act of removing this statement from the financial report by central bankers. The ambiguous standpoint of the Federal Reserve is laid bare in Powell's another statement where he confessed Fed's inability to control external factors like high oil prices, supply chain constraints, and COVID. That's not something we can do something about. Appropriate monetary policy alone cannot reduce inflation. The inability to stick to a fixed stance is only going to create an ambience of economic unpredictability, ultimately leading to stock market crash and economic breakdown coupled with a burning inflation. This detrimental situation was predicted well ahead by Peter Schiff, the chief economist and global strategist of Euro-Pacific Capital. He claims to be accurate with his prediction while admitting that he has been quite early to give the alert. The situation will turn out to be similar to his prediction in the near future. The consequence is not immediate but inevitable. Unlike sugarcoating the future as the Fed has done, Schiff is much more brutal about facing the truth. Many people have finally given up on the idea of a soft landing and now expect a hard landing. But the only landing possible is a crash, where everyone on board dies. In another tweet, he added, "The political reality is that the U.S. economy will be in a severe recession during the midterm elections in November, and it will still be in the same recession during the general election in 2024. The main difference is that in 2024, inflation and the recession will be even worse." So, what do you think about the future of the U.S. economy? Is it going to be as deadly and pessimistic as Schiff's prediction, or will Powell and Biden come true? We would love to hear your views about this in the comment section. Like and share this video with your family and friends. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss any video from us. Stay tuned for more interesting videos coming right away. Thank you for your love and support, guys. See you in the next video. Goodbye.